Well, hey, everybody, it's Rick Bassman here live from Maui for a special edition of Talking Tough. So, here on Talking Tough, we specialize in having the world's toughest dudes on the show. The tagline is the world's toughest men and women at their most vulnerable. But, we've been regretfully a little light on our tough female guests. Well, we're going to largely make up for that today by having a woman on who I'm really excited to talk with her because in addition to being a tough chick, and that's just a saying, I mean that with all the respect in the world, she personifies the description of talking tough, somebody that has been to the bottom and taken stock of herself in life and risen back to the top. I'm looking off screen because I don't have all my notes memorized. I never do, as you know, but there's a tagline that describes her. A reporter takes up boxing to show what she's made of and to slay her inner demons. And one of the reviews for her book, Fighting Chance, which we'll talk a lot about coming up, says Alicia Doyle is a shining example of an individual who continues to fight to save herself from the dark side of life. And it goes on from there. So this is interesting. I don't know Alicia. We spoke once. We've exchanged some emails. My immediate impression, and it's one that's lasting up until this moment, is of a very genuine, positive, like a bright light. So I'm really curious about these inner demons and this dark side of life. I'm sure we'll get into all of it. Without further ado, a former boxing champion, author of an amazing book that's out now, my new friend, I hope, Alicia Doyle.
Hi, Rick. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Really glad to have you on today. How you doing, Alicia, out in California where it's going a little nuts?
We're on pretty serious lockdown right now, so they don't want us outside, and of course we have to wear the masks. It's pretty strict. A lot of things shut down again, so of course we're all missing that. But luckily, I live in a small community, and we care about each other, so where everybody's trying to remain upbeat and positive, but it's challenging, as you know.
Are you at home today?
I am.
Are you getting out and about much at all, or are you pretty well locked down?
I'm on lockdown, and of course, when they closed all of our gyms out here, that was a big blow because I need my workout to keep my head straight. So I just started walking. Since March, I've been just walking around my neighborhood. We are allowed to go outside and walk outside. So I live in a beautiful community with beautiful weather. So that's worked out very well. So I feel really lucky that I can do that.
Right on. Do you have any like at-home indoor workout stuff that you use or do?
I do. Like speed bag.
Yep.
To mimic the speed bag, if I don't, and I put like weights on my arms, first the sit-ups, the push-ups, and that sort of thing. The walk takes quite a bit out of me because I walk 5.5 miles, so that's really good cardio. And then I do my stretching and all that, and the weight training at home. I have some Select Tech dumbbells, which are really awesome.
Where's your speed bag?
I don't have a speed bag in my apartment. The speed bag is at the gym.
Oh,
it's at the boxing gym.
I was going to put you on the spot, and I was going to put you on the spot and ask for a demonstration. Oh, well. That's all right. Hey, have you heard of these thing called egg weights? Are you familiar with them?
No, what is that? That's awesome.
Okay, so they're called egg weights. And John and Rachel, if we push this hard enough, we should get a sponsor. They are these metal weights surrounded by this rubber coating. These things are about 4 pounds each, believe it or not. And you grip them. And what I do with them is I shadow box with them. And I'll do, I set my timer. I'll do a 3-minute round, take a minute off, and come back and do another 3 minutes. And these things are awesome. So I just thought I'd point it out. Egg weights.
Oh, those are rad. I got to get me some of those because my wrist weights are falling apart. I've been using them so much. And I can even walk with those.
So Alicia, like I said in the intro, I haven't known you. I don't really know you at all. We had one really nice conversation. We've corresponded a bit on email. I've read a lot about you, and as I said in the intro, my vibe on you is you are nothing but an extremely like upbeat, positive, like bright person. So I want to get like kind of dark and ugly for a minute, go the other direction.
Sure.
In back to a couple of the quotes that I read. You're about slaying inner demons. You went to boxing to save yourself from the dark side of life. I mean, what was there a dark side or a rock bottom for you, and what did that look like? So,
oh, well, there's certainly dark pieces from the past, things that I really didn't discuss with anyone. A lot of things I'd been through, growing up in a household with violence, being involved in a domestic violence relationship myself, things that I just really didn't want people to know about. And, and then the boxing, became, my salvation. And there were just so many beautiful things that I learned through the sport. But I think rock bottom, wow. I mean, I could say yes, the depression and the insecurity that I dealt with for so many years, this was something I hid from a lot of people because I was a reporter, kind of a hot shot in my town, and people viewed me a certain way. It was a highly respectable position, and I wanted people to have that image of me, but they didn't see the woman going home, crying, feeling insecure, hurting over the past, just trying to figure it all out on my own. So that was just became like a really strange pull inside of me, because I knew that something inside of me needed to heal, but in order to do that, I needed to face it head on. And so boxing did have a parallel in that, and it makes sense that it transferred over. But, when you're in the ring with an opponent, you stay in the fight, you stay present, the only way out is through. And that started to transform, in my other areas of life, things that I had buried. And I realized the only way out of this is through, because if I keep denying these pieces of myself, I'm headed for some big trouble. I knew the depression was getting so bad. I knew I had to do something. And boxing did help me fight the depression, in that when I was boxing or training, you have to be 100% in that moment. There was really no room for anything else in here. And that's why I fell in love with it, because the boxing and the training became a respite from all my pain, from all my heartbreak. But then the minute I stepped out of that ring and came home, it was back again. So this went on for a while. And that was part of the process. And it's on the book, which is quite raw. I'm bloody honest, because readers know when you're lying to them. But I also knew the importance of it, because I realized that vulnerability is the one thing we all share. And I needed to be vulnerable, and I needed to tell my story, because I believed that it would help people. And so far it has. So I know I did the right thing. And it only took 20 years to write the book. That's how long of a process it was, and how much I had to battle in my head just to get it out of me.
That's beautiful. And very quick plug before we get back to the story. John or Rachel just put a crawl up across the bottom of the screen while we're on here. And all of those out there watching can tell you how to get Alicia's book, Fighting Chance. I know it's available on Amazon. And if you email Alicia directly, Alicia@AliciaDoyle.com, she will tell you how to get an personalized autographed copy. That's really cool. So Alicia, boxing was your outlet to slay the demons. I mean, you could have chosen needlepoint or gardening. Obviously, that wasn't going to do the trick for you. I want to get to a tough question in a second. First of all, I want to say I agree. I've told people my entire life, if you are living in your head and you need to get out of it, the two things I know how to do are go get in a wave and body surf it, or get in a fight, because you cannot think of anything else while you're doing those activities. Those are the only two things I can think of. So I hear you, but I do have to ask that. Here's the previously referenced tough question. So you mentioned that you grew up in a household with violence, that you were in a situation with domestic violence. Was boxing an outlet for your own violence, or did you look at it differently?
But boxing was definitely an outlet for my rage. Absolutely. Because I had been reporting on this gym for about a year as a journalist, and in doing so fell in love with the kids and with the sweet science. But I had never actually been in to take a boxing class or hit the bag or do anything. The owner of the gym, Robert Ortiz, he was long encouraging me to come and take an aerobic boxing class. And I kind of scoffed him off and I didn't take him very seriously. But what got me into the gym that day was I went through a really volatile breakup with a boy that punched me in the face with a closed fist more than once. And needless to say, I was really angry about that. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I couldn't believe I allowed that to happen to me. I mean, I chose this man. I was in love with this man. So I was so angry. I showed up at the gym the next day because I wanted to hit something as hard as I could over and over again. And Robert gave me my gloves and my wraps, and I hit that bag for an hour, and I felt better. I was amazed at how much better I felt. And there was no contact boxing. This is just aerobic boxing, but there was something about it that made me feel elated and on a natural high. And so I kept on going back and doing it again and again and again because it made me feel so good. And before I knew it, I was taking 3 classes in a row, 6 days a week. And at that point, it wasn't enough. I wanted more. So, there's boxers and, champions training there all the time with their coaches. So I would just watch them train. And I would mimic their moves. My coach would give them some combination. I would practice it on my own and on the sidelines. And because I was the only female in that gym working as hard as I was, at that point, other coaches from other gyms started to notice. And that's when I was approached by a gentleman named Stan Ward, who passed away earlier this year. But he asked me if I would ever consider competing. And I told him that I had thought about it, but that nobody would take me seriously because I was a girl.
What a huge switch, though. I mean, I understand and respect cardio boxing. I actually owned the first mixed martial arts gym in the state of California back in 1997, and we had like 30 bags hanging from the big frame. So we did all the cardio boxing, cardio kickboxing, and it's no joke going through a 45-minute class. I mean, it's a workout. But
it is.
That you know as well as I, better than I do. Jab, cross, hook, uppercut, whatever it is. The second you get in a ring, you're like, oh, wait, the bag didn't hit me back.
Exactly.
It's a whole different deal. You mentioned that, and regrettably, it's sad that you were hit by your boyfriend. So you kind of you knew what that was about. But the first time you got in a ring and you got hit in the face, you remember that? Oh, yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday. And that's what, every fight, and I didn't win every fight, but I have a pretty good record for the time that I was in. But every fight is in that book, whether I won or lost. But of course, you cannot continue with boxing if you can't get in there with an opponent. So that's where I had an exhibition match. And that's all in the book where it's not supposed to count, right? An exhibition is supposed to be like practice. It doesn't go on your permanent record. Well, I tell you, this was a brawl. This was a war. And the girl I fought, Layla McCarter, she's an amazing woman. She still fights today. She's a multiple-time world champion now. But when I stepped in the ring with her, I was 28 years old and she was a teenager. And I didn't even know I was fighting that day until she walked in at the last minute. And then I heard through the crowd that she was a kickboxing champ. And as soon as I heard that, I was terrified. But I got in that ring. My coach was there. And then I had, guys from my gym, there to cheer me on, people from other gyms wanting to see me get knocked out. I had to get in there, right? And it was also initiation to see if I could even compete. Coach told me, he said, if you can't get through this, then, that's it. So I got in there and it was a war. I got a standing 8 count in the first round. And I just remember against you.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the ref stopped the fight because I was getting knocked out. So and standing 8 is a chapter in the book about those 8 seconds, that barely mark time, those 8 seconds that feel like an eternity. And in those 8 seconds, you have to decide whether or not you can go on. And I did not want to go on. I was scared. I wanted to cry, but I ain't going to cry in that ring. So I kept going, and I don't even know how I pulled it out of me, but I did, and I lasted the 3 rounds. Layla was amazing, and not to put any spoilers out there, but I ended up, when I entered amateurs officially, I ended up facing off with her again, because back then there were so few women boxing at the time that whenever we had a national tournament, all the girls from all over the nation would show up at that one tournament because it was the only place that would host girls. So it was very normal for a girl to fight a girl more than once in amateurs.
Sure. That's first standing 8 you're describing when you made the decision to go on. That's like a life altering moment. Could you imagine now looking back if you had decided otherwise? Your life would have been so much different now. And I think that's a good metaphor for like pretty much every challenge you face. We have a decision to make with every challenge we face. Do you take it on or do you fold? So man, I'm just saying it to say good for you. Good decision.
Yes, and every subsequent fight after that, I was terrified in every single fight, but I had a really good poker face, so nobody knew it. But that was a battle as well, and a mental battle. But like any athletic sport, especially boxing, it makes you mentally strong. The stronger the body becomes, the stronger the mind becomes. Everything translates. So, getting through that battle, getting through that war was a turning point for sure. But I tell you, I feel like I've been in a standing 8 count since March. Like we all been in a standing 8 since March. So it's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to quit? Or are we going to keep going and finish this thing? Because I believe the only way out is through. So that's how I look at it now. It's like, yeah, I'm in a big, long standing 8, but the only way out is through.
Thank you for that. Yeah, without question. I mean, we know that, it's proven already only 9 or 10 months into this that, mental illness is, at an alarming all-time high.
Yes.
Suicide, attempted suicide, the rates are, absolutely up there. And as you've talked about, I don't know if you're predisposed to depression, but you suffered through a lot of it. So you're now in Ventura, you're home. Do you live alone?
I do. I do live alone. So
you're in Ventura, you're alone. No one else is in your home. Those moments come up. What do you do I'm assuming they come up for all of us.
Oh, it came up yesterday.
But what'd you do? How'd you get out of it?
Oh, I sit with it. I sit with the discomfort. And sometimes it can take 10 minutes and sometimes it can take 3 hours. I do not check out. It would be easy to check out. Medical marijuana is very easy to get here. That you could buy alcohol anywhere. I could easily check out, but I don't. I sit with the discomfort and I examine it. And it's a very difficult thing to do. And I don't know if I would recommend it because I am predisposed to depression because of my family, genetically.
That's a tough one, sitting with it. I understand what you're saying. I get it. But man, you got to be strong.
Oh, it's hard.
And come out the right side. That's a tough one.
Correct. And my faith is really strong. Thank God. Because there are times when I will be sitting there praying to God to help me through it.
Yep.
I did have a suicide attempt when I was a young girl, and that's in the book. So when those thoughts come flooding back in, I recognize them and I know that's not an option, that I'm just, I don't want to kill myself. What I want to kill is this feeling and this pain of whatever it is I'm feeling. So, first, it's a lot of examination and self-awareness, but it's difficult because I don't usually talk to anybody. I do have like a couple, if I feel like I'm about to jump off a cliff, I'll call my brother. But I pray to God and I just get me through this. Shed your grace on me. I'm in pain. I tell God I'm suffering. Help me get through this. But it's rough. Especially when, my depression spells sometimes can last for days. And I just make sure I keep doing the right thing, that I eat well, very nutritious foods, that I go on my walk. I have to do my workout every day or I would snap my calf. And just doing all the right things and also understanding that I'm only human and we're in a time of unprecedented fear. So what I'm feeling is normal. And so I do tell myself these things, but it's rough.
Yeah. It's good to give yourself a break in those times for sure. One thing I like to do, John's probably rolling his eyes because he's heard this a million times, but one thing, if I'm feeling it, I don't know about you. I spend too much time on social media. My excuse is I need it for work, and I do. That's partially true, not entirely. But I'll look for somebody, friend or someone I don't even know, who's put it all out there that's having a really bad time, and I'll reach out to them. And I find that by helping somebody else what they're going through helps me. Just a thought. I mean, and then you have connection also. Because
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You know, taking the focus off of, because all this stuff that it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's in my head, and I know this. So it's good that I know that on a logical level. But yes, pivoting, I'm helping somebody else. You know, thank goodness I am still involved at Kid Gloves Boxing. I'm a volunteer coach. So I work with these kids still, and that always gets me out of it. That always gets me out of it. If I can muster up the strength to even get out of my apartment and go there and coach. There have been a couple of times where I've been so down, and I don't want those kids seeing me that way.
Sure.
And it's an energy thing. I know that even if I try to mask it, you know, they're not stupid. They're going to know. So I do avoid them when I'm feeling that way. I don't want them to see that. I want them to see strength. That's very important to me. But you're right. That always gets me out of my head. You know, helping another person. And
helping the kids. Is this the Kid Gloves program you're talking about?
Yes, it's still around. They're still there. And I'm a volunteer coach now, but before, when that's the gym I trained out of. That was where my training camp was.
So you're in an elevator now, because you know the term. You live in Southern California. We all know the term elevator pitch. What's the 30-second elevator pitch on Kid Gloves? What is it?
Oh, Kid Gloves Boxing Foundation serves at-risk youth and any teen or young adult that wants to get in shape. But we're all about the inside first, you know, making them strong individuals, thoughtful individuals, compassionate individuals, and learning to love themselves, and for them to realize that anything is possible and to never quit. And that's something we drill home with them every single class. There's a beautiful thing we do at the end of every class with the children, and there could be 4 children or 20 children, but it's a water bottle. It's a scrappy little piece of crap water bottle. That's all it is. But we call it the bottle of confidence. And we pass it around. We make each kid hold this bottle, and they stand up and they say, "This is the bottle of confidence." It means never quit. Anything is possible. Believe in yourself. And then they hand it to the next child, and they have to say it again. They have to stand up and say it again. And it's very, very powerful. We make them do it every time.
And Kid Gloves is an accredited nonprofit, yes?
Yes. We have the Kid Gloves Boxing Foundation is a nonprofit.
Okay. And how can we learn more about it? Where will we look?
We have Kid Gloves Boxing on Facebook and on Instagram, Kid Gloves Boxing. We're in the process of rebuilding the website. But yeah, he's still going strong and still helping these kids. When I met him, he was doing the same thing. When I met him 20 years ago, Robert Ortiz, that's, what opened my heart to him, because I saw what a wonderful person he is. And I was shocked to find that some of the greatest gentlemen I ever met in my life were boxers. And, I met through the sport. They're very calm, very sweet men. They look like scary, but they're the sweetest, softest, most vulnerable men I've ever met. Vulnerable.
That's a great mission. And, I've seen so many times the positive effect that boxing and the combat sports can have on kids in trouble. Yeah. And I screwed up because I gave John the wrong URL for Kid Gloves. We have it up on the screen as facebook.com/Kid Gloves. So people out there, it's Kid Gloves Boxing on Facebook and Kid Gloves Boxing on Instagram if you want to hear more about it or see more about it and help to support the mission.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, of course. Yeah, Now, you're a boxer. You're a lot of things, but first and foremost, you're a journalist. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. I've been a journalist for about 30 years.
And I know you've written, as your website describes, thousands of articles, literally, and you specialize in good news. That's a quote unquote. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
That means I only write about people and efforts that have a positive impact on the world and in their communities. And I was able to go on that mission when I went freelance, because when I was working as a newspaper reporter on staff at the Los Angeles Times, San Diego Union Tribune, Daily News, I worked for some of the biggest metropolitan papers in Southern California. And as a reporter, I had to take the assignments they gave me. And I covered like crime. There were some tough beats where not every story was good. So I decided that when I went freelance that I was only going to write the good news, because when I would report on stuff like tragedies or heinous things that people have did to each other, it didn't make me feel good. And I knew that whoever reading it wasn't going to feel good either. And I also knew that God gave me the gift to write for a reason, and he wanted me to use it for good. So that's why I decided when I went freelance in 2000 that I was only going to report on good news. And it works. There's a lot more good news out there than there is negative news.
That's a great, and the funny thing is, it's an interesting statement. Because I'm going to go with you on that. I believe it. I would bet you most people won't believe that though, because for whatever reason, we're drawn to the bad stuff. As you know, there's all these sociological studies that watching the news, especially local news, murder, mayhem, it contributes to depression and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, we're drawn to it. I avoid the local news like the plague, and up until last year, I didn't read national news either. Sadly, I admit now I'm a little addicted to the national news. Well, I'm going to say because it doesn't matter. There's really no good reason for it. But when it becomes too much for me, there's a website I love going to. You ever heard of goodnewsnetwork.com?
I believe I have, but I got to check that out. That's great.
It's the greatest thing. You log on to Good News Network, and it's just nothing but good news and good stories and uplifting stuff. And talk about switching your mind fast.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
So, your website talks about some of the people, inspirational people that have a positive impact on this world. That's a descriptive phrase for the type of person you interview. And it doesn't name any names, but I have a question for you. Because I'm probably I'm going to be jealous here if the answer is yes. You interviewed a man born without arms and legs who gives motivational talks. Was that Nick Vujicic?
Yes.
You got him. John, did you hear that? She got him. We can't get him. I may have to ask for your help.
He's amazing.
I love that guy. He's my hero. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can recall that assignment like it was yesterday. It was during the National Day of Prayer, and he was the keynote speaker. And there was not a dry eye in that place. It was remarkable. He is
unbelievable, and he has a huge ministry now, and deserves it.
Yes.
Yeah, for anybody watching this on YouTube or listening on podcast, I don't want to say if you think you have problems, because that sounds like it makes light of whatever it is you're experiencing. We all have our own experience, and they're all heavy, and I understand that. But this guy Nick Vujicic, wow, born as the description said with no arms, no legs, had a horrible time in school, thought his life was over, tried to kill himself, and now I talked about you and my impression of you being just inherently a very positive person and bright light. This guy personifies that. He's got a hot wife, beautiful kids.
Yeah.
It's great. I got to put it that way to make light of it a little bit. But, so for when we think we have problems, it's always inspirational to look to somebody like that, certainly. And kudos to you for seeking out that sort of guest. That's our quest here. We look for people that have really been through it, that have come out the other side, and have something helpful to impart about that might move even one person out there. And that's very much the reason why I was drawn to you and your story. So there's not a question in there. I just wanted to say it. That's all.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, yeah, I believe it was no coincidence that you and I connected, and this is serendipitous. We were meant to do this, so I appreciate you doing this for me.
Absolutely. So what's next in your life, assuming the world returns to normal, and prior to it returning to normal? What's hot for you right now, and then what comes up next?
Well, I'm super excited because on April 6th, I signed a movie deal based on my book with a woman named Slavika Bogdanov of Empowering Entertainment. And she's marvelous and brilliant. So that was an incredible blessing and something I didn't expect. So right now that film is in development. We are still looking for investors, but it's moving along very, very quickly. So I'm super excited about that. I do go to kid gloves and coach when I can. I still do that, keeping in mind it's very strict social distancing, of course, but I need to be around those kids. So I do that. But other than that, just a lot of contemplative time. I do meditate every day. That helps tremendously. So I make sure I do that. That's part of my, just overall health, along with diet and nutrition and working out. But it's just, a lot of it is just quite solitary, and I'm an introvert anyway. So I think that's why I'm not completely cracking up about it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow. I think there's so much to talk about. All right, let's get personal for a second, because I know
Okay.
people are going to be wondering about this. Do you have a man in your life? Is that something you don't have that is in your future, or are you just completely over it?
I do. I have a boyfriend who lives in Reno, so it's long distance. But what's sweet about it is that he was a boy that I dated when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
So we
Cool.
first, when we was 16 and he was 15, and then we both had our lives, and he had his life, and then he found me on Facebook about 3 years ago, and it was like no time had passed. Of course, we remembered each other, and there was nothing bad between us, and we were so young. So it's been really nice reconnecting with
really
him.
cool. That
And
is
he's
great.
a very sweet man. He's a very sweet and kind man.
Good. That's so important, isn't it? We
Yeah.
get to a point where we know what's most important, don't we?
Hmm.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And it's there's a lot to be said for that long distance thing, actually. And that's really not even that far. That's a perfect distance. So good for you guys.
Right. It's not that far. But it's nice to, have a relationship with somebody that you miss all the time. It's better than the alternative, so we make it work.
Good. Okay, I had to ask, and I saw it through you a little bit. I'm just like, I love to do that. It's fun to go places you may not normally go in a conversation like this. Who knows? Are you still writing for papers? Are you freelancing? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I still freelance a little bit. When COVID hit, a lot of my clients just folded or went away or just disappeared. I lost quite a bit of that, but I still write for a couple local publications. I'm putting a lot of energy into the book, and just publicizing the book. And thank goodness for, platforms like this, and the internet has made it so that I can do that and still publicize it, because before COVID hit, I had book signings planned and scheduled, and I had bought boxes of books that I was, getting ready to sign, and then COVID hit. It's like, oh no. But it was just so dramatic. I also knew that everything was going to be okay, because what happened was so strange. It was like, all right, God does have another plan. So I just need to chill out, and keep my mind straight, as it unfolds. And everything worked out fine. I had to learn a lot of stuff online, of course, but that's been a great process. So it's been fun meeting people like you, and you're not 6 feet away, which is nice.
That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's time to build foundations in another way, which obviously you're doing. And the book signings and speaking engagements and all that will come back, but you'll be better prepared for it now. So it's funny, there is a blessing in everything. I think doesn't always seem like it when it's happening right at the time, but I think looking back, we can find what the advantage to it all was.
Absolutely. And I think one of the best things about this is it's given me time to contemplate, because we're forced to stay at home. They really don't want us out. I mean, there are signs around here that say if you're not wearing a mask, you can be cited. Well, the cops aren't enforcing that, thank goodness, because I think that'd make everybody pretty upset. But it's just been a time to contemplate and to be self-reflective, and being forced to really, be forced into this isolation. But it's been great. It's been hard sometimes, but it's been quite wonderful, because I know that I've had a lot of personal growth in this time. And I'm sure a lot of you have.
If you had the proverbial balance sheet, as it were, it definitely seems like you've come out on the the positive side of the ledger during this. And what I mean by that is you're doing for yourself, you're bettering yourself professionally, emotionally, the whole 9 yards. And God knows there's a lot we can do to take advantage of that. It's not, to me, I think it's an opportunity. I really do. I've gotten in
Absolutely.
better shape over the past few months than I've been in a long time. I've advanced myself professionally.
Mhm.
You make up for the deficiencies if you choose to do that. There's always a chance to do that.
Absolutely. And, my nephew was a big inspiration too, because he's getting ready to go to medical school. And this whole thing happened, and he has classmates, student friends of his that just dropped out. They just stopped, and his whole attitude was, I'm going to keep going. Yeah, you had to take everything online. Yeah, it's hard to do like a science lab, online, but he's doing it, and he's gotten just straight A's across the board and just kicking butt. So I think, I'm going to follow that, and I'm going to just take advantage of this time, because this is the time we can reinvent ourselves and do anything. We always have that opportunity, but now it's like, really hone in on what you want and find out what's working and find out what's not working. And a lot of people are in relationships and they're breaking up. A lot of people are getting divorced because they're realizing they're stuck with this person, and they're like, why did I make this choice? So I think that's great too. Just people reassessing their lives and realizing what's important, because we all really don't know what's going to happen a few months from now.
I love all the people that are experts, because God knows all you have to do is go on Facebook to find 100 people that personally that are experts about what's going on right now. And the only thing I know for sure, I believe, is that none of us know anything. And it's going to be interesting looking back on this time, when the true stats are in, when there's some perspective on what happened, some hindsight, it's going to be interesting. So in the meantime, I agree. We do the best we can for ourselves, for others, being of service any way we can. And everybody take advantage. Do the best, no matter what you have or don't have. There's something you can do to better yourself and help others. There's no doubt about it. And we talk about that all the time on the show, to the extent it probably seems like preaching sometimes, but I believe in that word. So I always like to push that.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. And it's true. It's true. And that we have the power of choice.
So one last departure before we sign off for the day. Are you going to fight again?
No.
Good. I was hoping
way.
not.
Absolutely not. And I joke about that, because that's, other people have asked me that as well. But I said, I would fight if it was $1 million purse and I was guaranteed to win, then I'll get in there again.
It'd have to be a really good, compelling reason. I get it. Believe me.
$1 million and I'm guaranteed to win.
Yeah, there you are. I'll set that up for you tomorrow. No problem. Well, hey, Alicia, it's a pleasure meeting you, and really, really good to talk with you. It's especially refreshing in these times where most people don't find much good to talk about, to meet someone like yourself who's positive and on the ball and making good things happen. So, blessings and all good stuff to you. And I look forward to watching your book become a huge success, watching the movie coming out, and then hopefully staying in touch.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Because you're a wonderful person. And again, I don't believe it was a coincidence that we met. So I'll definitely stay in touch for sure.
Well, you take care, keep killing it, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
Alicia, have a great night.
You too. Good night.
Bye-bye. And that was Alicia Doyle on Talking Tough. And I believe that John Paz from the two-man power trip podcast empire and producer Rachel Sartoris in Los Angeles are still on. There they are. I see them. So I have to dive right into a question. Rachel, you ready to train and make your boxing debut?
Oh, yes, definitely.
You're going to get right on that, huh?
Yes, I'm on it tomorrow. I think my back is up for it.
Yes, exactly. You could fight. I know what we can do. We should book and promote a mixed match on Talking Tough. And you could fight John Paz from the two-man power trip.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
John, you game?
Sure. Why not?
Right.
I don't see why not.
Why the hell not? Rachel, how is your back doing?
It's, it's doing all right. I've been, doing DDPY.
You are doing DDPY.
I
Good.
am doing DDPY.
What do you think?
It's great. I started with the lowest,
Mhm.
the very, very lowest,
That's
the
the
bed.
way to start for
Yep.
sure.
I
Good.
started with the bed flex. So
I know that one. You actually did the bed flex? That's awesome.
yes, I literally started with the very first program. So, as low as you can go. But it's great.
That's good. Now, do you remember what the last one was that you did? I forget
Oh
the
no,
name.
I'm on week 1. I'm
Okay.
on week 1 because
Okay.
I just started.
And are you I know it's early, but are you feeling like you're gonna stay with it?
Yeah.
That's killer. We gotta let Paige know about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
John, gonna put you on the spot. Have you started DDPY yet?
I have not. I do need to do it though. I was actually looking at the app before, thinking like I gotta start doing this. I've
That
been too
app is
busy.
awesome. You know what? It's
Yeah,
like
it's pretty
anything, man.
cool.
It's like once you get over the hump of doing the first thing, in my experience, you're into it. So, Rachel, I think we ought to put John on the spot because we already have, and we should extract a commitment from him right here and now as to when he's going to do his first Diamond Dallas Page yoga workout.
We did that once before.
Oh, shoot. Uh-oh. Well, let's forget that one happened. Let's start again. John,
Mm-hmm.
we're asking you for a commitment as to when you're going to do your first DDPY workout.
I think probably Sunday might work. A couple days from now, that might work. I've just been a crazy schedule list. I'd say week and a half.
All right. So Sunday.
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 I think
Sunday's
John
the
needs
day.
to. John's going to hate me for this, but I think he needs to take the word think, might, and probably out of his commitment statement.
Let's do it on Sunday. Let's do
You
it.
will.
Yeah, I
You
will.
will.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
We'll do it.
And they're short, man. I mean, there are some longer ones, but the one I do most days is like 22, 23 minutes, something like that, and it's just getting to it and making it happen. That's all. You'll thank me and Rachel. You'll definitely thank Dallas Page, no doubt about it. So do it, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
And here's the thing,
Alicia was really inspiring.
Yeah, I think she's really real. That's what I like about her.
Yeah, she's very real, very down to earth, very inspiring on, definitely the young girls to, to women, and to men. I mean, I think she's just, she's very real, very down to earth. And I mean, I think she appeals to a very wide range of people.
Yeah, I totally agree because she doesn't come off to me at all as like an entertainment figure or a performer at all. She seems like a very just like a human being, very personal.
Yeah, a very genuine person.
Yes, agree.
Yeah.
I really I like her. I hope that she sent me the book. You probably could tell I haven't read it yet because I'm really bad at that. But now I'm going to. And
yeah, it sounds like a really compelling, amazing story of like overcoming a lot.
Yes, yeah, and I hope she does well with it. I really do. It'd be great to see that movie get made. That would be a really nice thing. That'd be a really nice thing.
Yeah.
Well,
So
guys,
how did this come about? I kind of heard she reached out to John, or she reached out to you guys and John picked it up.
She actually reached out to me, emailed me, and was looking to get in touch with Rick and wanted to be on the show. So I immediately forwarded it to Rick, and he said, "Perfect. She's a perfect guest for the show. Obviously, physically tough, but mentally tough as well." And just worked out perfectly, and kind of went from there. But yeah, she reached out to me and wanted to get in touch with Rick.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great,
and it's a good fit. It's a good fit. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the messages I've got. I don't want to I would never point anybody out, but I can't even give the example because it'll point
Yeah.
the person out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I think
But
you know what I'm
that's,
trying to say.
yeah.
Some are just like, nah, it's not a good fit. That's all.
Right. But that's one of those, it's like, that's a great, that's one of those great, somebody reaches out and it just makes total sense for,
Yes.
and it's also great to see a woman.
Yes. Yes, agreed. And and I'm glad you brought that up, since you are a woman producer, and since we have women in our audience, I sometimes have people ask, well, how come it's like, the tagline is the world's toughest men and women, and it's like 2% women on the show. And I have to say, it hasn't been for lack of trying. It hasn't been. Um, I chase a lot of the guests on my own, most of them, I would say, because I find people I'm interested in, and then I get excited about it, so I'll chase them down. And there are a lot of like really fascinating, strong women out there that I've gone after that just I'm not hearing back from. So if you guys have ideas for strong female guests, or anybody out there who's listening fits that mold or has ideas, let us know, please.
Yes, we need more women. We need more tough women, strong women to come on.
There's this lady,
represent.
God, I forget it. Her name is Fritzy, and I want to look it up and get her last name. I know that she has a nonprofit called the Compassion Prison Project, and if you look at her, she looks like like a well-to-do, average. I don't want to say housewife because that's almost like a demeaning term these days, and I understand that. So it's not meant that way, but she's well-to-do, conservative, average American type citizen, put it that way. And she has this nonprofit where she created this program where she goes into like super max hardcore prisons and works these programs to bring prisoners together, guys from like and as we all know, because we all watch movies, when you're in prison you don't mix races. And
Yeah.
she's come up with this project where she brings races together in prison by getting to the core of what's going on in in themselves that got them in there in the first place. And she helps to reconcile these big divisions, not only like within the prison population themselves, but within each individual. And I've been chasing her. That's an example. So that's what we're after for sure.
Wow, that would be amazing. That would be she'd be a really great guest.
Maybe you should write to her. Maybe she hears from you. It'll make a difference. I'll give you her info.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be happy to chase that one down.
Cool. Good. All right. I'm going to send that
Yeah.
to you when we finish up here today. Definitely.
All right.
Well, guys, that was cool. I don't
Yeah.
have much else that I can
That was a
think
good
of.
one.
We've got some good ones coming up next week.
Yeah.
And here we are at the weekend. We got a big
Yeah.
inauguration on Wednesday. You guys have all your gear. Head down and gonna head to DC and ride a little bit.
Oh yeah. I'll be sitting in front of my TV.
Yeah, right. John, do you watch the news these days?
No, not at all.
You don't. Good for you,
Nope.
man. Good for you. I've got to get back to that. Get back to not doing that, I should say. I'm sure my entire day Wednesday from the moment I wake up will be, since I don't have a TV here, I'll sit in front of my laptop or iPhone or iPad and watch the loveliness unfold. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well,
Do you want to tease our guests for next week?
oh hell yeah! Yes, we got a crazy day. On Thursday of next week. I just thought of this right now, Rachel. It's the day after the inauguration. Who knows how that's gonna color the mood in our country the following day. So we have two on Thursday, and if I had to like grade 1 to 10 on ones I'm really psyched about, these are both like ones for sure. We have a guy named Robert Vecino on. Robert is a verifiable billionaire, and he has a company called Vivos X, where he has gone out around the world and he's bought up these government-built facilities. There's a few here in the U.S. There's one in Germany. There's one in Russia. I don't know how he got that deal done, but he buys these facilities that the military have built, where they're like these fortified underground bunker cities that are built to withstand nuclear blasts and keep people alive, full ventilation systems, a whole 9 yards, keep people alive for up to a year without having to surface. And he's taken these places and made them into like underground luxury compounds. And he is considered the guy at the absolute apex on this planet, what they call the prepper movement, people preparing for the end of the world. So we have him on Thursday, which I think is going to be fascinating. That's one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and guys, I would say if you get a chance in advance, look them up. And if you have anything you want to add to it, let me know. I'm doing a lot of research on it. I personally find it fascinating. So I think I'll be pretty well prepared. But if you guys are into it and have something, let me know, please.
Definitely.
And then our second guest on Thursday is along with Nick Vujicic, the guy that Alicia and I were talking about, who people, not me, call the no arms, no legs guy. Just search that in Google, no arms, no legs guy. You'll get Nick Vujicic, truly one of the most fascinating humans on this planet. And we will get him on the show by the end of this calendar year. I'm absolutely set on that. There's another guy who's at that level for me, and his name is Isaac Wright Jr. He is the person that the hit ABC series For Life is based on. He was sent to prison for life for, doesn't matter what the charges were. It was drug related. He professed his innocence from the very beginning, maintained his innocence throughout, was sentenced to life imprisonment. He had no priors at all. It became a big racial issue in New York. And while he was in prison, he decided he was going to study the law. He then started studying to become a lawyer. He took the bar and he became the first person incarcerated in the United States to become a lawyer while in prison. He then was able to rail against the system in New York, get a retrial where he represented himself and overturned the conviction and was freed. And if that's not an amazing enough story in and of itself, he is now one of the declared candidates for the mayor's race in New York City this coming year. So it's going to be an interesting guy to have on for sure.
Yeah, Thursday's going to be a good day.
And guys, here's how I see it: if society survives after this inauguration, well, we should be good because we might have the mayor of New York as our friend. And if society collapses, maybe we can get a space in the underground bunker.
In a bunker, yeah.
So we're good. We got our bases covered on Thursday, all in one day.
I think so. I think Thursday is going to be a good day, and I think we're covered either way.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll have a great night. I'm sure you're both going to the big all-night raves in the places where you live.
Oh, yeah. That's how we do.
That's how we all roll these days. John, heading out to the rave?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
Good deal. I'm going to go feed my dogs and stay home by ourselves. That's all I ever do. So you guys have fun, and I'll envy you from afar.
Yeah, and enjoy the island life.
Have a good night, you guys. Thank you.
You too.